Welcome to Smackey's Garage. Today we're working on the Factory 5 GTM again. We're going to be working on the interior. We're going to be getting some of the panels up and on the interior so that we can finally have a firewall between the driver's seat, the passenger seat, and the engine. One, for safety. Two, because when I do this we can finally mount the seats, and when the seats are finally mounted, I won't be sliding around when I'm trying to move the car around. So here's where the gas tanks are in the car. There's one on the passenger side, there's one on the driver's side. They're both located right here, right behind the driver's and passenger seat. And the way that they're held in is essentially compression. So this panel that's gonna go here is gonna be what's actually holding this gas tank down and in place. So we need to make sure that we have this securely mounted and in place. To do this, we're gonna put the panel in, we're gonna mark it, then we're gonna put some rivnuts in place, and then we're gonna use some 1/4-20 screws to hold it down. The good thing about this is it'll make it removable when I need to, and if we need to do any adjustments. So let's go ahead, let's see how this fits into place. Now essentially this should just drop right in, and then this should be against the panel right here, which it is. So the panel's actually, so the panel right here is where we're gonna be doing the rivnuts. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna mark that, then we're gonna drill some holes. All right, so the panel is actually a pretty good fit in there. You can see it lines up pretty well. Probably need to put some sealant in there just to block it off so no air comes through. But you can see the holes down there that I'm gonna be marking and drilling rivnuts into the chassis for. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna mark those up and then we're gonna drill them. Now I have all 4 of those rivnuts installed now. I should be able to just drop the plate in and it should just screw into place. All right, we got the 2 firewalls in, we got the driver's side in here, we got the passenger side over there. You can see those screws are now in place. Everything's rivnutted and lock washered down to hold it down temporarily. Still need to do some work to make sure that everything is sealed and there's no like fumes or anything coming through, and that everything is sound deadened, but we'll get to that later. Now this piece here is gonna go from side to side across the top where your head's gonna be. So the driver's side's gonna be here, passenger side's over here, and there's gonna be a window that looks through into the engine bay. So you can take a look back and see the engine behind you. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get this marked up and get it into place. So on this channel, I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you do me a favor, make sure you subscribe so you can follow along with any of these builds, whether we're talking about the Factory 5 kit car, or we're talking about the 69 Mustang, or any of the work that I do on my trucks or my Shelby. So thanks for subscribing. Let's continue on with the video. All right, so the weather stripping is going on it, and you can see I got it around that edge, and I got it on that edge. But one of the things I'm noticing is all the weather stripping is actually damaged. So it's so old that it's actually starting to crack apart. So pretty much this entire bin of weather stripping, I don't know if it's gonna be usable or if it can be fixed. So, I mean, even take a look at this. You can starting to see as you're putting it on, it splits and then it's slowly coming out more and more. So it's not usable really anymore. Now what I'm gonna use it for now is I'm just gonna use these few pieces to get everything lined up and into place, but I'll end up taking it down later to replace it. All right, so I was able to use a lot of these clamps and hold it into place where I want to mount it. I measured around and made sure there's enough space for all the weather stripping that's going to go there. And with that there, I can go ahead, drill the holes, and then mount some rivnuts in it. One of the things I noticed is none of these holes in the back here are lining up correctly, so got to figure out how I'm going to deal with that later, but I'll probably mark it up now just so at least I know what the right location of those are on the chassis. Okay, so we can see exactly where these screws landed. I can get rid of that reflection. So one there on the edge, one up there on the edge, and then the other side is pretty much the same. So not gonna be able to use those, have to rethink how this is gonna mount. So I'll probably end up having to kind of move the holes over on what I remarked. and there, and you can see the rib nut there in the bottom, nice and collapsed on top of itself, so it'll hold the screw in. So now we can get ready to put this back in. All right, so I can't get these to line up and it's not straight. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna end up shifting these holes in a little bit, probably put 1 and 2 there, and then do the same over here, just to get everything together and lining up. All right, you can see it's temporarily mounted in place. I was able to get a few bolts in there, but one of the things that I need to do is mark the back chassis where those screw holes are gonna go. So I'm gonna redo that now. And there's a few places that I'm gonna cut to make it fit a little bit better, but it's up, it's in place. There's still room for the weather stripping up top when that's ready to go on. And I checked to make sure everything would fit. So now I just need to go ahead and pull it out one more time. Now working on kit cars, one of the things that I find is you end up putting things together and taking them apart a lot. So that's something that you really need to figure into the project. You know, if everything was straightforward, like a Lego set, just go together in the place where it needs to go, that would be easy to put together. But part of the fun is making sure everything fits right. So I'm currently having to take this apart multiple times after I take measurements to get everything to fit correctly. So out again we come. All right, so the rib nuts are in, and as you can see, it's really nice to be able to put a screw anywhere you want and to be able to connect it. So this side is done, the other side is complete. Now we can finally get this in. Everything should be there that I should just be able to drop this in and screw everything together. All right, so we got the panels in, it's looking pretty good. So you can see down there, we're all bolted in. Up top, I have 1 bolt into the back chassis. All the ones that here are connected to the top. Well, not all, but some of the screws are connected at the top on either side. And then I have that back chassis bolt in there as well. So all those are now lined up and in place, so I can start to see if things are gonna fit. You know, while I was in, I ended up putting that piece there in the center. I didn't use any sealant or anything on it yet, so I just put a few rivets in it just to get everything lined up. I think one of the biggest things I'm gonna learn is it's gonna be hard to get everything to fit in here correctly. There's gonna be modifications needed, so getting these parts in early is gonna give me a chance to get those all straightened away. Now this here is the engine cover, and it should just drop into place here. And this will just so I'll figure out exactly where this goes later, but I just want this in place somewhat because it'll provide me with a little bit more protection if I'm in the car, if I'm moving it around, that I don't hit any of the belts. Now I definitely have some more cleanup to do in the areas like this. This place here is where the fuel line actually goes from gas tank to gas tank. So I need to be able to clean that up and essentially make it smaller so that there's no leaks or anything that comes through there, water or anything else. So we're gonna have to take care of that as well. So we made a lot of progress. The interior is starting to look like an actual car, and it's starting to come together, and you feel like you're making a lot more progress when things are starting to shape up. When you're just doing the wiring or something, you really don't get that feeling of things are getting better, you're making progress. But now that it's starting to look more like a car inside, it feels a lot better and you can really see the progress being made. So thanks for tuning in this week on Smackey's Garage. I'll see you next time.